Oh, it's you. It's been a long time. How have you been? I've been really busy being dead. Figuratively, not literally. Obviously the grave could never take me. I make no apologies for my absence, because I do what I want, when I want, because that's just the sort of total badass I am. I have returned to you today because I thought you might enjoy watching me spend 8 hours doing something really tedious. And this time I'm not talking about your mother. Those of you who are not illiterate will by now have surmised from the title of the video that what I am building is a double-decker roller coaster. That's right, 2 trains on the same track, one on the top, one on the bottom. Impossible, you say. Inconceivable, you proclaim. But that word, I do not think it means what you think it means, because in just 42 short minutes, I will demonstrate beyond any equivocation that such a construction is entirely possible, and all it takes is some creative engineering and a relaxed approach to building code compliance and amusement park safety regulations. This is Uncle Nick's Junkyard Funland, a wondrous place where your wildest roller coaster-based dreams come to life, free from the limitations of common sense, good taste and structural integrity. A park full of rides that look as though they've been crudely hacked together from junk based on plans confabulated by a madman, rather than rigorously designed by someone who knows what they're doing. Not so much B&M as B&MDMA, if you will. I have a few remarks to make about this particular coaster. The place where the lift hill begins is offset between the 2 tracks. The upper track has a section of flat chain before the hill begins. This is to ensure that the lift hill motor is separate from the one for the track below, so that the ride has 2 distinct lift hill motors. Ultimately, I plan to work the chain lift mechanism into the theming. The trains are not synchronized at the lift hill. The inverted train enters first and is released from the top first. This is a necessary compromise for this arrangement of tracks. The upper track has a speed advantage due to a number of factors intrinsic to the double-decker concept. It gains slightly more height on the first lift hill, meaning it begins with more potential energy. In all inverted elements it has the inside path, which is shorter, and attains less height through the inversions, meaning it is in a higher kinetic energy state relative to the inverted train. The synchronization timing is optimized to minimize the total accumulated difference in position between the trains over the course of the layout. Serendipitously, this also allows the trains to be perfectly aligned for the top of the vertical loop, the most visible element of the layout. This provides an impressive spectacle, which is important because this ride exists as much to be watched as to be ridden. There is scope to achieve better balance between the trains, as some non-inverted elements can place the inverted train in a higher kinetic energy state, allowing the inverted train to catch up. Though I haven't utilized this mechanism to its full potential in this build, as I favored a more inversion-dense layout. Roll centers were a big challenge in building this ride. The top lane needs its roll center about 1 meter below the track, while the inverted lane needs its to be about 1 meter above. In theory, the game is well equipped to handle this requirement, but in practice the smooth tool messes up everything, so a lot of painstaking manual tweaking is necessary, and even then the track is a long way from being perfectly smooth. That's why the junkyard theme is important. I can pass off any sketchy track sections as being a deliberate choice to fit the character of the ride. Oh, yes, the loop is definitely meant to have those awkward kinks in it. The catwalk supports for the invert clip through the rails for the top track. It's very annoying, but there's not really anything suitable I can do to fix it, so you'll have to use your suspension of disbelief, or else. The fairings on the invert cars also clip through some of the custom support work. I've tried to leave enough room for the wheels to go through, so it would plausibly work if the cosmetic fairings were removed. The 2 per row Giovannola trains may have been better in this respect, but I think the mismatch of 2 seats per row on the bottom to 4 seats per row on the top would have been just as upsetting. So again, you'll just have to ignore it, or else. I gave the 2 coaster tracks a multicolored patchwork paint job, which you'll see later in the video. This was also really tedious. It was important in creating the right aesthetic, and I am more than satisfied with the final look. The other key component of the aesthetic of the ride is the custom support work. Custom supporting this ride was a significant challenge, due to the very limited amount of surface area available for supports to be attached. Furthermore, the sight line between the two tracks must be maintained as much as possible in order to allow the dueling train to be visible as much as possible. Two requirements which are just about diametrically opposed. But I persevered. When I started construction, I wasn't sure quite how the supporting would work, so ended up just making it up as I went along, which I think is fitting for this project. I think I managed to hit the sweet spot between flimsy enough to be constructed from junk and robust enough to plausibly keep the ride standing with only a little artistic license, and that's about all the dialogue I have. Whilst I'm willing to pour hours and hours into bespoke custom supports, writing a script to last a full 42 minutes is well beyond my patience limit. Stay tuned for a set of cinematic shots at the end of the video which are rather impressive in my humble opinion, and I am correct about everything, and also very modest. Consider subscribing to the channel and clicking on that notification bell. I upload content at wildly irregular intervals, and it sure would be a shame if you were to miss some of it. I'm not saying that's a threat, just heavily implying it.